The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
And now, it's time for Radio Jobline with your host, Scott Possessor, right here on 103.9 LI News Radio.
Welcome, everybody. It must be Saturday afternoon from 2 to 3, or it might be Wednesday night from 9 to 10. We're on twice a week to talk about your career, talk about your business, talk about the job market, the talent pools, the economy, whatever we have as our current economic factors, which nobody really seems to know where we are. So we have economists on the show constantly, Ree. We're trying to figure that out. But we have with us today Ree Wackett from the Small Business Development Center at Stony Brook. She is she's been here on the show before. We go back interviewing the Small Business Development Center all the way back to the Lucille Wesnowski days when she was at Farmingdale. You remember Lucille?
Of course.
Yeah. And that's when I started, featuring the great services that the SBDC provides at no cost to Long Islanders. So I'm a tremendous advocate of using the SBDC. If you're going to go into a business, large or small, it's just something you need to do, folks. I didn't do it all those years ago, all those decades ago when I went into my own business. I was underfunded. I had really no grasp of what was going to happen to me those first few months. Thankfully, I made it through, but I'm one of the few people that beat the odds, because most people, right, you'll tell me this in a minute, that do not have a business plan, and do not get assistance, don't make it in their businesses. So let me tell you a little bit about Ree Wackett. She joined Stony Brook University in 2012 after a 10-year tenure at the Farmingdale State College SBDC. She's an advanced certified senior business advisor, and while well-versed in all sectors, she specializes in women entrepreneurs, procurement, international trade, and childcare. As an avid and enthusiastic member of the small business community, she was honored by Long Island Business News in 2008 as one of the top 40 under 40 people in business. She was again honored in 2009 as the valedictorian of her 40 under 40 class. Ree is a frequent lecturer on campus at Stony Brook University, as well as in the community, on issues related to entrepreneurship. She was honored with the statewide Lead by Example Award in 2024. Ree has a BA and MA from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and MPP from Stony Brook University. Welcome, Ree.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's been a while since you were on.
It's been a little while.
So, very happy to have you, and always have great concern for people that just stop me on the street and say, Scott, I listened to your show. I used to watch you on TV. I'm going into my own business. And then the first question out of my mouth is, do you have a business plan? I don't even say anything else. Do you have a business plan? And they go, well, yeah. Well, what do you mean, yeah? Do you have one or don't you? And I think it's as much as I hate to hear my mouth say these words, a lot of people don't listen. They go into a business willy-nilly, without the planning, without the strategy, without the business plan. And just because they have a friend that's bringing them in, or their dad is going to finance them, or for whatever reason, people don't take it seriously enough. So with that, I throw it over to you, Ree. Am I right?
You're correct, 100%. The old adage is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Mm-hmm. I'll see people that'll come in and say, yeah, I have a business plan. It's in my head. Or I have it in my notes app. I have a bunch of bullets about what I want to accomplish. And it's great to have, imagination. It's great to have it in your head and keep mental notes of what your goals are. Same thing goes for the notes app in your phone. But a business plan is something that will force you to think through things about your business that maybe you haven't had in your head for a while, or maybe isn't in those bullet points in your notes app on your phone. It forces you to think through things like, what's your competitive advantage? What's your marketing plan going to look like? Specifically, maybe what's your social media plan going to look like?
Right.
What is your, who are you competing with? What are they doing right? Because certainly if you're competing with folks and they're in the marketplace and they're selling their goods and services, they've been around for a while. They're doing things right. So you want to learn from them because you're going to be watching them just like they're going to be watching you. Have you thought about pricing? Have you thought about what your operational logistical plan might look like? And without a business plan, oftentimes people don't think through those things.
So the bigger question is why? I mean, why do people take it so lightly? It just seems like perhaps the biggest deal you're ever going to do in your life, is open your own business. So, I mean, wouldn't you want to get your accountant and your lawyer on board? Go to the SBDC, get some professional advice. What if you don't have the wherewithal to do a business plan? A lot of people just don't have it. They don't know. They don't even have the knowledge of what they need to put into a business plan. Of course, you can Google it nowadays and find, get some templates, but why don't people take this more seriously?
Scott, I think part of it is people get really excited when they're entrepreneurs and they have a new venture coming or they're getting into a venture with somebody that they know. And there's that emotional attachment to their idea. And they don't want to go through any process that might stifle that idea or make them think, oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't do this right now. It's kind of like, when you're searching for a home and you see a home that seems perfect to you. And you're emotionally attached. And people said, well, did you get that engineer's report? Did you get it checked out? Is the foundation solid? What does the roof look like? And then you find out maybe it's not such a great thing. It's almost like an ignorance is bliss thing. And we try to impart on our clients that ignorance is not bliss. You could end up losing a lot of money. You could end up losing time. So you also could get into regulatory trouble if you don't get the proper permits and or licenses for the industry that you're going into. So I think it's more people get very excited. It's an emotional attachment to what they're hoping to accomplish, and it can be daunting. And putting a business plan together is work.
Yeah. I also noted what you said about people almost not wanting to hear the negative or hear the bad news or hear that some of these issues they're going to have to deal with that they didn't think about. Well, I'm not good at social media. Well, what do you mean you're not good at? You're opening a business. Well, I'm terrible on the internet. Well, you can't use the internet and you're opening a business. So what about your funding? Well, I have the first couple of months, I hear these responses and they're infuriating. Because I'm saying, look, I'm not your parent. I'm not your friend. We just met, but you need a good talking to. And I tell people to go to the SB. I send probably more clients your way than you realize.
Oh, well, we appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we really try to encourage people to put together that business plan, again, because it is a very comprehensive way of approaching a business from many different angles. While they're doing that, we request that they put together a budget as well. Because like you mentioned, people are like, well, I have the first couple months worth of operating costs. Well, what happens in month 3 and 4? If you don't have that cash set aside, if your cash flow is just at a trickle and not flowing super steadily, then what happens?
Or your revenue didn't start coming in the way you thought it would, so it's going to take more time. Now you don't have any money.
Precisely. Undercapitalization is the number one reason why businesses fail.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about the SBDC and the services that you offer. And then one of those services would be the business plan.
Sure. So Stony Brook University Small Business Development Center is a joint venture between the SBA, which is a federal agency, the Small Business Administration, and State and University of New York to provide technical assistance to small businesses, which include at the very core, our one-on-one small business counseling, whether either myself or one of my colleagues will sit down with folks and talk about what their goals and objectives are for starting a business or continuing a business if they're in business already. I am a New York State employee. The people that come in to see us do not incur any direct cost. Their tax dollars pay for us to operate as a state agency. So we really encourage anybody that is either in small business or looking to get started as a small business or an entrepreneur to come in and check us out. And our services range for startup implications, including the business plan, helping folks with marketing, sales, pricing, if they're interested in government contracting, their social media plan, we're soup to nuts for anybody that's either in small business or looking to get started. We're a portal, basically.
Okay. So let's say that somebody comes to you now. I'm sure this has happened, but I'm just going to ask it anyway. Did people ever come to you with a pretty like a rotten idea, and you're like, look, this is not going. I'm sure you're nicer about it than that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure people come to you with ideas that are faulty.
Well, I'm not in the business of crushing dreams. So rather than, kind of saying bluntly, this is a terrible idea, I give people, the facts and say, look, if you're looking to do this, this is what you need to do to sort of, I don't want to say guarantee success, but hedge your bets better so that this will be a successful business. And I'll show them, okay, more often than not, clients haven't thought about pricing, haven't thought about volume, sales volume. They just get really excited and said, well, the sales will come. Well, let's stop. Let's think about how much, price per unit. How many units will you have to sell to break even? How many units will you have to sell to start making money? And then when they start seeing the numbers, because the numbers don't lie, they're like, oh, well, I need to sell 2,000 units a week of these widgets I'm making to break even. Whoa, maybe I can't. Maybe that's not
sustainable.
I don't have the ability to fulfill that, and that's not going to be sustainable over time.
Yeah. So you give people advice if they do have a poor idea, you show them the things they should be concerned about. But if they have a good idea, and just out of curiosity, do you remember I don't know, I'm going to say 30 years ago, Ree, you're so young, I'm not sure, but do you remember when everybody had a video store?
Of course.
Okay. So you could drive down the street and you go from one block to the next and there's a video store. And everybody and their brother opened up a video store. It was one of the most popular things I ever saw, and I never forgot it. It's still on my mind all these years later. And then, of course, along came Blockbuster. And different types of formats for videos. VHS tapes were gone. Then it was CDs. Then it was DVD. And all. So it's all over, all said and done. But is there something like that now that's hot that people are like keep coming to you with and saying, I'd like to open up this type of store. I want a dry cleaner. Is there something that people seem to consistently be interested in? Maybe a side hustle from the internet.
We don't see a lot of stuff like what you're saying, brick and mortar. It's more like a side hustle. We do see a lot of folks that might get involved with sort of, I almost hate using this word, but pyramid type of stuff, which really falls outside of small businesses. We do see that with, people in hopes of, getting a lot of, cash sort of quickly. So we see that sort of thing. But, as far as seeing like a brick and mortar, like what you're suggesting with, video stores in the 80s and the 90s, no, it's more like stuff that people are doing home-based. It's more like service-based sort of things from home.
Okay, and they are less expensive because you don't have to buy inventory, you don't need all the office space, you don't need warehouse space.
Operating costs are at a minimum.
Yeah, so that all makes sense. Okay, and I'm glad that people are not taking the kind of risks they used to take because, again, opening up a video store, it's a gigantic investment. Where you get all that money and it takes you a lifetime to save all that money and then it's gone. Yeah. What are the stats, by the way, for people that open up a business? So
75% of small businesses fail within the first 5 years. But for small businesses that come to see us that end up opening within 5 years, 80% are still around.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But in that stat is some people that maybe we saved from themselves.
Right.
And ended up not starting the business because they weren't ready. Or like you were saying, it was kind of a not so great idea. And decided to walk away from it after they drew their own conclusions when we gave them the facts.
Yeah. Interesting. The whole thing fascinates me, because there's a little entrepreneurism in all of us. Who doesn't have a little bit of that inside them? It's rare that you find someone that, no, I could never do that. I can't sell. So I can't have a business. I'm terrible at marketing. I stink with technology. More people are negative about themselves, So what are the basic skills? If you're going to you have an appointment with Ree, and she's looking for things to make sure you're going to be a good business person. What are the qualities, the characteristics of people that succeed?
I really think anybody can be an entrepreneur. Anybody can be a small business if they have a passion for what they're doing and if there's a market for what they're doing. So, I can't say that there's any universal skill set other than the ability to have grit, to work through it, to believe in what you're doing, to truly believe in what you're doing and not doing it because you think it's going to make you a lot of money. You have to have a passion and you have to believe in it and you have to have a grit to, kind of persevere. But some businesses require people to interface with other people and might need to have better interpersonal skills, great skill sets, very engaging personality. But, if you are making products and you're mailing them out and you have an Etsy store and you never interface with people outside of online, you can be a shyer person. You can operate as an entrepreneur and be successful. I think the most important quality is the perseverance, the ability to, that grit.
Just out of curiosity, how do you feel about people buying franchises?
Franchises are a great idea for the right person.
But you need money.
Yep.
Because they're not expensive. I think I remember some years ago somebody told me it's $40,000 for a McDonald's franchise just to get in the door.
It's a lot more than
more than that now, right?
Yeah.
So that was probably 10 years ago. So it's gone way up.
A little more than that. Yeah.
Everything else. So, a franchise is good if you can afford it and you get the training and you're working with a respectable, reputable organization. Mm-hmm. Okay, but let's say we don't have a franchise. We're looking on a smaller scale. So, Ree, what if somebody comes to you and gets some advice, but they need more advice? They need to keep coming back, and step after step. Is there a program set up for that?
I have, I've been doing this job 20 years. Mm-hmm. I have people I've been seeing since my first week at this job. And we're still together and I've watched their business grow and evolve.
Right.
It's almost like the clients that I've worked with become an extended family, and I become proud of them when I pass by their store or I get an email from them telling me how well they're doing and they're in their 20th year and they've hired their, 70th employee. But we're here for clients as long as they need us. There's no start and end time.
What about financing? Now, I know the SBDC does not do any kind of financing, but are you connected? Do you have people you can send someone to for a $20,000 loan?
We work with every lending institution, locally and across the country to find the fit for the particular client. So if they're looking for capital for startup or expansion, we will do our best to find an entity that would be suitable for them.
Does having your endorsement help?
The most important thing, I would like to say our endorsement gives a seal of approval, but the most important thing is to have good credit, actually. Mm-hmm. So that's going to tell the bank a better story than anything else. Right. They will want a full-blown business plan, so they know that they've thought through the venture that they're going into.
Right.
But they want to know that they've been responsible with their finances in the past. So having our endorsement, working with the business plan, I actually run financial projections for my clients for loans. Helps, but the help me help them, you want to have good credit.
So if one of the parameters of this new person you've just met is that they do not have good credit, would you then advise them maybe this is not the best path for you?
It might not be the right time. I've had clients come back and go get more experience and fix their credit. And come back to me a couple years later, and then they're much better positioned to start the business. What
about the climate? We only have a couple of minutes before the break, but what about the climate right now for opening a business? It seems like the economy is having some issues right now. We keep hearing that we averted this recession, but then there are still sort of recessionary periods and portions of the economy. So, is this a good climate?
It depends on your market. If there's a market that's ripe to be captured and you hone in on the market, better yet, if you have a niche in that marketplace, there's no reason why you can't start a business at this time.
Okay.
Credit is tight. Getting a loan now is difficult. Right. So, if you're looking for capital outside your own or a private investor, or perhaps you have friends and family, people that are investing in the business, if you need to go to a lending institution, yes, credit is definitely tighter now.
Okay, we're going to be talking about women, minorities, and veterans and working with the government in the next segment. But before we do that, Ree, could you give people the website for the SPDC and whatever contact information they need?
Sure. It's www.stonybrook.edu/SBDC. And to make an appointment, you can go to our website and there's a form that you can fill out there, or you can give us a call at area code 631-632-9070.
Okay, and just a quick one from me, folks, is that I believe in this. I have been on radio and television for 34 years. I believe that any person opening a small business should get advice and counsel from the SBDC, and don't be afraid to bring in your lawyer and your accountant as well, because they're going to give you a different type of advice. But you need support.
Yeah, a lawyer and accountant are people you want on your team, for sure. And
everybody needs support, right? I mean, you tried to do something like this on your own, one person all by themselves. It's not easy.
It's lonely, and knowledge is power.
Yeah. Okay, so you're listening to Radio Jobline with Scott Possessor. We have Ree Wackett with us today from Stony Brook, SBDC. She's fabulous. I'm really glad to have her back. If you would like to be on Radio Jobline, you can write to me, scottp118 at gmail.com. I always forgot my platform, scottp118 at gmail.com. Also, connect with me on LinkedIn, because we post all of the Radio Joblines. Once they air at the station twice, which is what they do every week, they are then posted on my LinkedIn account, Scott Possessor, P-A-S-S-E-S-E-R. And that's where they get tremendous amounts of listens and views, and so on. So connect with me on LinkedIn, and let me know if you'd like to be on the radio program. Back with a lot more from Ree Wackett from the SBDC at Stony Brook in just a minute.
And now, welcome back to Radio Jobline with your host, Scott Possessor, right here on LI News Radio.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Radio Jobline with Scott Possessor, and I'm joined today by a true professional in the world of small business. And a top 40 under 40 winner, Ree Wackett, who's from the Stony Brook SBDC, the Small Business Development Center. This is a free service, folks, that anybody opening a small business should take advantage of. I cannot understand why so many people do not do that. You need a business plan. You need the correct financing. You need a marketing plan. You need a social media plan. There's so many things that you need to take into account. It's too big of an undertaking to do it by yourself or without professional advice. So when an organization is offering you free services with a person like Ree to sit with you and work through your idea and come up with the facts and figures to make it real, please don't miss the opportunity. Do it. Okay, we're going to give the numbers and phone numbers again and stuff at the end of the segment, but let's get back to what we were talking about, Ree. The SBDC really offers a lot of options for other sectors of the population. So it's not just the general population. It's women, it's veterans, it's minorities, and probably other things I'm forgetting. So let's talk about how it splinters up a little bit into those areas.
Okay, so where those designations become really important is when you're engaging in procurement or government contracting. So the government has goals for doing business with classified groups, which include women, minorities, and service-disabled veterans. And with the federal government, with the U.S. Veterans Administration, with veterans as well. So in order to get access to set-asides for the goals that these different agencies at different levels, whether it's New York State or the federal government, they want it, they have goals for doing business with each of the classified groups. There's a process called certification where you'd get certified as a woman-owned business, a minority-owned business, a service-disabled veteran-owned business, or a veteran-owned business. We can help folks with the process of getting certified.
What's entailed with that?
So the business has to be comprised of 51% or more of that classified group. So the business has to have 51% ownership of women, minorities, service-disabled veterans or veterans. And if you are in more than one category, you can get more than one certification.
So if you were a minority and a woman, right? So then you'd be getting extra stuff, or is it the same thing?
You would be certified in both.
And certified in both.
Certified in both. The length of time for New York State is that you have to be in business 1 year. For federal certification, it's 2 years.
Okay. Now, this makes sense because if you're a certified person who has it more of a direct line, has a credential, working with the government can be very profitable.
Yeah, I mean, the government buys everything. It buys, the desks that employees, sit on. It buys food service supplies. It buys, the military buys airplanes. It buys pens. It buys pencils. It purchases pretty much everything. So if you want to take a look at what the federal government purchases, you can go into federal Fed BizOps, or you can go into sam.gov. You can come and see us and we'll walk you through the process. But there's different ways of seeing what the federal government buys. For New York State, you can go take a look at the New York State Contract Reporter to see what kinds of goods and services that the state government purchases.
So this might actually spawn some ideas. If you see what the government is buying, and then you're like, wow, well, I can get that. I can, that's one of my strong specialty areas. So maybe that's a good area for me to open my business in.
You have to be in business 1 year and active 1 year before you can get that certification.
Right.
So they want the government, whatever level of government it's at, wants to see that you're active and in business and that you're actually selling in the marketplace, that you're successful and you've shown what's called, in quotes, an ability to perform. So they want to see that if you're selling desks in the private sector, that you can sell desks to the New York State Department of Education, for example.
So give us, if you would, just to spend a minute, the advantages and perhaps disadvantages of working with the government.
There's really no disadvantages.
Okay.
It's another client. It diversifies your income. You get income from private enterprise. You get income from the government. It's just another income stream for you. An advantage is that where you might have to chase your private clients for payment is the government pays, and they're pretty timely with their payment.
Now, we work in our company with aerospace companies. And of course, they're manufacturers, and I even know a women-owned manufacturing aerospace company. I know two of them, but they also have an issue with hiring non-Americans, okay? Because they have government contracts with the Defense Department, and the Defense Department is pretty nasty about making sure that everybody that works at the company that they're doing business with has a visa, or not a visa, is an American citizen. So does that factor into any of that?
Well, they have to be legal. They don't have to be citizens. So they have to have legal, whatever kind of visa they're applying for, or they have to have permanent residence in the U.S. So they cannot hire people illegally. As far as the certification, it has no bearing. It's just that the owners have to be 51% of that comprised group.
Okay, good. All right, so plenty of reasons to do business with the government, so that's good. And then let's talk about women and minorities and veterans in all three of those sectors. What are they looking at? What are common things for them to consider? Do they come with consistency of any ideas? So
you just have to be, in the industry that you're claiming that you're in, and you have to truly be the owner and operator of the business. It's not like you can, I see a lot of husband-wife teams where the husband will say, I'm just going to put my wife as 51% owner. But if she's not the person with the greatest expertise and has the greatest control over the business, you're not going to get the certification. The individual upon which the certification is based has to have the greatest amount of control. Okay, so what sort of benefits are there if you are a woman or a veteran or disabled veteran, or something like that? What do you get that other people don't get? Well, there are set-asides. So there are goals that the state government and the federal government has where they want to do business with those classified groups. For New York State, it's, I believe, 20%. For the federal government, it's 23%. So I'm very fond of the companies that go out of their way to hire veterans. Okay, I believe. Me too. I've never been in the military, but I respect the military greatly. My dad was in the military. And when you come out of the Army or the Navy or wherever you're, the Air Force, you should have a job waiting for you. And the fact that they don't, that some of them get out and they have
trauma and, PTSD but other conditions as well, emotional problems, busted marriages, whatever it is. I believe that our country does not do a good job of providing those people with jobs.
I agree.
So private corporations have picked it up and they actually advertise. And they're particularly interested in veterans and so on, women and so on and so on. But why isn't there a greater? I know this is a question maybe outside your purview, but why aren't we doing a better job with that?
That's a great question to pose to your politicians and elected officials.
Yeah.
That's definitely outside my purview. But I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah. It just seems sad. Because you hear about some of them and they're lonely and they've just had this ridiculously traumatic year or two and they come back to nothing.
Yeah, it's serving your country is such a great honor. And, when we say thank you for your service, are those just words?
Yeah.
Let's put some real
muscle.
Some muscle, some weight behind those words.
And money. Let's put some money behind it.
Show me the money.
Yeah, show me the money. All right. So what sort of advice can we give to those three sectors, women, minorities, and disabled?
Disabled veterans and veterans, come to the Small Business Development Center. If you're business owners, if you're majority owners of your businesses, 51% or more, I can help you with the process of getting certified, and that will give you an advantage when competing for government contracts.
Okay, and then so you still have your private contracts, and then you could also have government contracts.
Yep.
And I know that there are corporations out there that do deal with the government, but it's not their only source of income. But it's a good source.
It's a great source.
And they pay on time.
For the most part, they pay on time, yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yep, it's great.
All right, so let's talk about procurement. Procurement is a big area. Okay, what is procurement?
So procurement is the process by which the government purchases their commodities or services. So there are portals for the procurement process. For the federal government, it's sam.gov. For New York State, it's the New York State contract system, whereby you can take a look at what the government is looking to purchase, and then how you can get involved in having them buy from you.
Okay.
We also offer at the Small Business Development Center a bid matching program. It's an online program that if you're a client of the Small Business Development Center, you'll give us your intake with your information, keywords that you'd use to identify that your sector that you're in and the services and or products that you may offer. And you will get updates on potential opportunities to do business with the government.
Without revealing anything, can you give us an idea of businesses that have been successful for women, for disabled vets, for minorities?
Everything's confidential, but I have to be very general.
General.
I've had clients win construction contracts, landscaping contracts. I had a client win a contract for lanyards for a New York City agency for a major New York City event, creating the lanyards. I've had clients win food service contracts. So it really, runs the gamut. There's not only one typical business that has gotten opportunities in the procurement arena from coming through our office. We see anything and everything.
Well, we support the disabled here on Radio Job. We support all the sectors you work with, but we especially support disabled because I think that's the most difficult sector of all. Is those people have it rough, and then they go to try to open a business and they get roadblocks and so on and so on. What about a great success story in any of those sectors, but particularly disabled? Do we have, without revealing what even the industry, if you don't want to?
Yeah, I do. I had a client who did have a disability that worked in language translation, and it was a home-based, online business. And they won a contract, because they showed an ability to perform. And they also illustrated another certification I hadn't mentioned, that they were economically disadvantaged. So they showed economic disadvantage, probably not in part, somewhat in part because of their disability, because they had difficulty competing in the job market and getting jobs. So they had the economic disadvantage certification as well. And then this person won a contract for language translation, language services. This is going pretty far back, but I'm pretty proud of that one.
And it's long term still going?
I haven't spoken to that person in a while. I hope so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, and let's talk about the economically disadvantaged, because that appears to be another sector. So how would they start a business with that economic disadvantage?
So the economic disadvantage, it's there's a threshold where, your net worth is under a certain threshold. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But you have to prove that you've been economically disadvantaged. And remember, when you're getting certified, you're already in business. So the assumption is you've already started in business. For New York State, you've been in business a year. For the federal government, you've been in business 2 years. And, you haven't, made your first couple million yet, and you're under a threshold. The economic disadvantage threshold's actually pretty low.
Okay, so
I should mention, by the way, for New York State, if your net worth outside your personal residence doesn't count for your net worth. If your net worth is over $15 million, you are ineligible for the New York State programs for certification, regardless of whether you're a woman, minority, or service disabled veteran.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense.
I agree.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a factor. All right, so we talked about the sectors that you help. We talked about the services that you provide. These are ongoing services that don't have any particular termination point. They keep going until they're not needed.
As long as they want to utilize. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that's fantastic. Now, is there any competition out there, Ree? I mean, is there anywhere else people go?
I would imagine I'm not sure where they're going.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of SCORE.
Yeah, I mean, there is SCORE. That's a SBA program as well. It stands for, the acronym is SCORE, Service Corps Retired Executives. That's more kind of like a one and done. You go meet somebody and they impart their wisdom, and then you kind of go on your way. It's not necessarily an ongoing thing. As far as services where clients meet with us, over time, I to be honest, I really don't know of any services that are government entities that provide the array of services that we do.
And of course, the other option that people have, and I'm sure they take advantage of, is their attorney. They have their family attorney.
Who will charge them.
Who will charge them. And that's just it. I mean, attorneys aren't cheap. I mean, even the cheapest attorney, and I should say the least expensive attorney, is a couple $100 an hour.
An hour, right.
Right? I mean, and that's nothing.
Right.
I mean, I've seen $400 an hour, more than that, So you don't want to take that route if you don't have to. And why do it if
Attorneys,
the SBDC is here?
They absolutely have their purposes. If you need a non-disclosure agreement, if you need to create contracts for your potential clients, absolutely, they're definitely a person you need on your team.
So do you have access to an attorney? If I came to you for SBDC assistance and it was clear that I needed a contract for something, can you farm that out to somebody?
I don't make any professional recommendations. What I will tell the client is the Suffolk County, if it's a Suffolk County client, Bar Association has a lawyer referral service. Because we're the SBDC and we're funded by the SBA and State University of New York, we can't favor one entity over the other. So I don't give folks names of attorneys, but I'll tell them to contact the Bar Association for their lawyer referral service, or they can vet the attorney as a professional like they'd vet any other professional.
Okay. All right. So let's start at the beginning. So a person has this need. They feel they've got a great business, and we're not here to crush their dreams. So step one, you go to the website. What is the website again?
It's www.stonybrook.edu/SBDC.
Okay. And then they make the appointment right there on the website, or they can call.
Or they can give us a call at area code 631-632-9070.
And also, is there an email address?
Yes, you can email sbdc@stonybrook.edu.
Some people prefer that. They don't like the phone.
Any of those modalities will work.
Okay. So now you've made an appointment. You go in. You're not always going to get Ree Wackett, but there are a number of consultants there, right? So you connect with that consultant. You have a good relationship. It stays stable until you've achieved your goal. And
as long as they need us,
even beyond, achieving the goal. And there are no fees.
No fees.
Okay. Are there other things too, other services like webinars and
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Scott, for mentioning that. We run webinars. We run workshops. I give a fair amount of them via Zoom. We're doing everything via Zoom, including the counseling, which seems to be pretty popular. We haven't returned to in-person counseling. People seem to like being able to, get advice from wherever they are, and they don't have to drive to, Stony Brook University campus. And our training, our webinars and workshops are also the ones that we host have all been online as well, on a variety of different topics. And you can look at our calendar on our website.
Where do you come up with the topics? Is it things are recurring problems?
So we have sort of a standard array of topics: starting a business plan, starting a business. I'll do one on government contracting certification. We'll have one on marketing, QuickBooks. But we also ask our clients, what would you like? What sort of topics are of interest to you, and we sort of let our clients guide us.
We have had tremendous success with our social media plan at our company. We've got close to 80,000 followers. We just started this 3 years ago.
Awesome.
3 years ago. So we had to put up a new website. I write content. I don't know if you see my stuff, but I write an article every week that I put up there. We now have about 400,000 article views per year. We're very impressed with ourselves.
That's great.
As far as this social media plan. But I wonder, is it ever going to be the revenue generator that people wish it was? We don't make direct money from it. We send people to the website, certainly. But everybody's wanting to make money from social media.
There are people that do that. All they do is they make money from different social media platforms, and that's their entire income stream.
Like affiliate marketing,
influencing, product development, product launching.
So I remember being asked on an interview like 15 years ago what I thought about Twitter. And I remember saying, it's great to alert people of stuff, let people know there was a power outage or something, I said, but as far as a revenue generator, I don't see it. Okay. And now 20 years later, I still don't see it.
Well, for X, it's different. But if you look at, Instagram, and TikTok, particularly for, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, there are people making a lot of money on those platforms.
All right, so let's do some research about that and clue everybody in. All right, you've been listening to Radio Jobline with Scott Possessor. I don't know how much longer I keep Ree here. She's we've only got 48 seconds left. Ree, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
For being here. It's so great. Give the website one more time.
www.stonybrook.edu/SBDC. And the phone number is area code 631-632-9070. And you can email us at sbdc@stonybrook.edu.
Okay, wonderful. If you would like to be a guest on Radio Jobline, you can write to me, Scott P. 118@gmail.com. Happy to have you or your idea on the program. Connect with me on LinkedIn so you'll see all the Radio Joblines we post on my LinkedIn account. Last name Possessor, P-A-S-S-E-S-E-R. Have a great week, everybody. We got coming back with another show next week. Happy hunting.
Wildflower seed, sand and stone. May the four winds blow you safely home. Roll away the dew.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.